Most luxury cars get more fragile as they get older, but these 9 Lexus models do the opposite. In this video, we're looking at 9 mechanic-approved Lexus cars that are built to last a lifetime. When people think about cars that are built to last a lifetime, they usually picture an older, simple Lexus from the 2000s, not a sharp, modern sports sedan like the 2022 Lexus IS 350. But that's exactly what makes this car so special. It looks and feels like a brand new luxury performance sedan, while underneath it still has that classic overbuilt Lexus DNA that mechanics trust. Walk up to a 2022 IS 350, and it doesn't give off any used car energy at all. The stance is low and aggressive, the spindle grille is bold, the LED headlights are razor-sharp, and the body lines are tight and athletic. In the right color with factory wheels, it looks like something fresh off a showroom floor, not a car you're buying to hold on to for the next 10 or 15 years. Yet that's exactly what this car is good at. Open the door and drop into the driver's seat, and you instantly understand Lexus's goal with this generation. Make a cockpit that feels serious and focused, but still comfortable enough to live in every single day. The steering wheel is thick and perfectly sized. The seats are firm in a supportive way, hugging your back and legs without being stiff, and the dash wraps around you with a clean, modern design. Materials feel solid and dense, with soft touch surfaces where your hands and elbows rest, quality stitching, and switchgear that still moves with that smooth, damped action that tells you this was built properly. Close the door and the outside world fades. Even though the IS 350 looks like a sporty sedan, it still gives you that Lexus quiet that makes traffic and long drives easier to handle. Under the hood is where this car separates itself from so many other modern luxury sedans. A 3.5-liter naturally aspirated V6. In a world full of tiny, overworked Turbo 4s and complicated hybrid turbo combos, Lexus stuck with a proven, robust V6 that has years of real-world experience behind it. There's no turbo to baby, no crazy boost levels to worry about, just smooth, linear power that's always there when you need it. Around town, the IS 350 pulls away from lights with an easy, confident shove. You don't have to floor it to keep up with traffic. On the highway, the V6 drops into a quiet, low RPM cruise, humming away in the background while you barely hear it. But when you press down to merge or overtake, it responds instantly, climbing through the revs with a strong, clean surge of power that feels more luxury muscle than fragile tech. Paired with a conventional automatic transmission that's been refined over multiple generations, the drivetrain feels predictable and trustworthy. Shifts are smooth, timing is consistent, and there's none of the jerky, hesitant behavior you get with some dual-clutch or CVT setups. On the road, the 2022 IS 350 gives you something rare. A car that's actually fun to drive but still relaxed enough to be your daily commuter for years. The steering has real weight and precision, so when you turn the wheel, the front end responds immediately and cleanly. You feel connected, not insulated from what the car is doing. The suspension is tuned to keep the body flat and composed in corners, but Lexus hasn't forgotten comfort. It still smooths out broken pavement, potholes, and expansion joints better than a lot of so-called sport sedans. That balance means you can enjoy a twisty back road on the weekend, then sit in traffic during the week without feeling beaten up. At highway speeds, the IS 350 feels planted and secure. It tracks straight, doesn't wander in its lane, and wind and road noise are held to a comfortable background level. It feels like the kind of car you could drive all day on a long trip and step out feeling surprisingly fresh. If you asked a mechanic to point at one modern Lexus SUV that a family could keep for a very long time, the 2019 Lexus RX 350 would be right near the top. This generation RX is the definition of a stress-free daily driver. It looks modern, feels properly luxurious, and underneath it all is a drivetrain that's been proven over and over again. From the outside, it still fits perfectly in 2025. Sharp lines, LED lights, bold but not ridiculous spindle grille, and proportions that make it easy to park but big enough to feel substantial. It doesn't look like a cheap used car. It looks like a smart, grown-up choice. Open the door and you instantly get that classic RX feeling. The seats are wide, soft, and supportive, especially good for long trips or older backs and knees. The cabin is quiet and calm, with good visibility, big mirrors, and a layout that doesn't try to be a spaceship. Even though there's a large screen on top, you still have physical buttons and knobs for the things you actually use every day. Volume, tuning, climate, which is exactly what you want in a car you plan to keep for years. Close the door, and a lot of the outside world disappears. It feels more like a small lounge than an appliance. Under the hood is the hero, a 3.5-liter naturally aspirated V6 paired with an automatic transmission. No tiny turbo screaming for its life, no weird dual-clutch behavior, just a smooth, strong engine that's been used in multiple Toyota and Lexus models with an excellent long-term record. Around town, it pulls the RX away from lights easily. On the highway, it hums along at low revs, ready with instant power to merge or pass. As long as you keep up with normal oil changes and fluids, this is the kind of powertrain that quietly racks up mileage without drama. On the road, the 2019 RX 350 is tuned for comfort first. The suspension soaks up potholes and rough surfaces, the steering is light but steady, and at speed, the car feels settled and secure. It's easy to get in and out of, easy to park, and easy to live with every single day. That's why so many owners end up keeping their RX far longer than they planned, and why mechanics don't mind seeing these in the workshop for simple maintenance instead of constant repairs. If you told a mechanic, "I want one luxury SUV I can keep for 10-15 years and not worry about," there's a very good chance they'd point you straight at the 2018 Lexus GX 460. This isn't a soft, car-based crossover pretending to be tough. Underneath the leather and wood, it's a real body-on-frame truck with a V8 and Series 404 hardware. It's built on the same philosophy as Toyota's global Land Cruiser platforms, which is why so many GX end up doing hard work for a very long time and still feel solid. From the outside, the 2018 GX 460 looks like it means business. It sits high off the ground, with real ground clearance, a boxy upright body, and that unmistakable Lexus spindle grille and LED lighting that keep it looking modern in 2025. This is not a rounded, anonymous crossover. It looks like something you can drive to a nice restaurant on Friday and down a muddy trail on Sunday without changing a thing. That dual personality is a big part of its appeal. Climb inside, and the tone flips from rugged to comfortable immediately. You step up into thick, cushioned leather seats with a commanding view of the road. The dash is simple and robust, with big, clear buttons and knobs that you can actually grab and use, even with gloves on. There's wood trim, soft touch materials, and that typical Lexus solidity everywhere you touch. In a well-kept GX, the interior still feels tight and high quality. Very few rattles, no cheap plastic buzzing, and switches that still move with a smooth, damped feel. Close the door, and you hear that heavy thunk as the outside noise drops away and the cabin turns into a quiet, insulated space. Under the hood lives one of the biggest reasons mechanics respect this truck: a 4.6-liter naturally aspirated V8. There's no turbo to overheat, no tiny displacement working at 110% just to move the vehicle. It's a relaxed, under-stressed engine designed to make torque and last. Around town, it gets this big SUV moving with a calm, effortless shove. You don't have to thrash it to keep up with traffic. On the highway, it settles into low revs, humming quietly in the background, with plenty of power in reserve for hills, towing, or quick passes. Paired with a conventional automatic transmission and full-time four-wheel drive with low range, the drivetrain is built more for durability and control than for flashy spec sheet numbers. Exactly what you want in something you plan to keep a long time. On the road, the 2018 GX 460 feels like a proper, old-school SUV in the best way. It has a sense of weight and solidity you just don't get in lighter, car-based crossovers. The suspension is tuned to soak up potholes, speed bumps, and rough pavement with a gentle, controlled motion rather than crashing over them. Yes, you feel that it's taller than a sedan, but driven sensibly, the body stays composed and predictable in corners. At highway speeds, it feels stable and planted. You're not chasing the steering wheel or being pushed all over the lane by crosswinds. Road and wind noise are impressively low for such a boxy vehicle, which is why so many owners say it's one of the easiest long-distance vehicles they've ever driven. Practicality is another reason this model is mechanic approved. The GX gives you 3 rows of seating, so it can handle family duty, group trips, or cargo with ease. The second row is genuinely comfortable for adults, and while the third row is better for kids and shorter rides, it's there when you need it. Fold seats down, and you get a big, useful cargo space for luggage, tools, camping gear, or whatever life throws at you. Because the controls are mostly physical and the tech isn't overcomplicated, the interior ages gracefully. There are fewer fragile, trendy features to fail as the years go by. If you want a modern-looking Lexus with today's tech and yesterday's reliability, the 2022 Lexus NX 350h is exactly that sweet spot. A lot of new luxury crossovers chase crazy horsepower numbers and giant touchscreens, but quietly sacrifice long-term durability. The NX 350 does the opposite. It looks fresh, feels premium, but underneath it's running one of Toyota's most proven hybrid setups, the kind mechanics actually like seeing. From the outside, the 2022 NX 350h looks every bit like a current model luxury SUV. Sharp LED headlights, the big Lexus spindle grille, crisp character lines down the side, and a tidy rear with that full-width light bar. Park it in any 2025 parking lot, and it fits right in with brand-new crossovers. Nothing about it says compromise. It says, this is what a modern premium daily driver looks like. For a car you might want to keep 10 years or more, that matters. It won't feel ancient after a few model cycles. Open the door, and the first thing you notice is how sorted and calm the interior feels. The driving position is spot on. Not too high, not too low, just a confident crossover stance where you can see the road clearly. The seats are supportive but comfortable, shaped for real people, not just photo shoots. Materials feel proper. Lexus, soft touch in the places your hands and elbows land. High-quality trim pieces, and controls that move with that reassuring weight. Yes, there's a big central screen, but Lexus finally got the user experience much cleaner here than in older models. And importantly, you still have physical controls for key functions. So, as the car ages, you're not completely dependent on a laggy touchscreen to do everything. The real magic, though, is under the skin. The NX 350h uses a 2.5-liter four-cylinder hybrid system that's very closely related to what Toyota has used in millions of RAV4 hybrids and other models worldwide. In other words, this is not an experimental one-off powertrain. It's technology that's been beaten up in taxis, ride-shares, and family cars for years and come out the other side with a solid reputation. You get an efficient gasoline engine working together with electric motors and a battery pack in a way that's been refined generation after generation. Around town, the NX 350h will often creep along on electric assist, pulling away quietly and smoothly from stops. When the engine joins in, it does so gently without harsh vibrations or big noise. On the highway, the hybrid system settles into a very relaxed rhythm. The engine runs in its sweet spot. The electric side fills in the gaps, and the transmission keeps revs sensible. You're not revving the life out of a tiny turbo just to stay at speed. Everything feels under control and unstressed. That's exactly what you want if you're thinking long-term ownership. Hybrids like this are at their best when you use them for years. Lower fuel bills, fewer cold start strains, and a driveline that just quietly does its job. Mechanics who know these systems will tell you the same thing. Keep up with basic maintenance and they're remarkably trouble-free. If you want a luxury sedan you can buy, maintain, and then almost forget about, the 2016 Lexus ES 350 is that car. It looks calm and classy on the outside, but underneath it's basically a Camry in a tuxedo, with a 3.5L naturally aspirated V6 and a simple automatic gearbox that mechanics love. It glides over rough roads. The cabin is quiet and comfortable, and with regular oil changes and fluids, these ES 350s routinely rack up huge mileage with almost no drama. If you've ever wondered what it feels like to drive a car that was deliberately overbuilt, the 2016 Lexus LS 460 is exactly that. This isn't just a nicer ES or a stretched Camry. This is the full-size flagship Lexus built for people who expected S-Class comfort with Toyota reliability. And that mindset is why so many of these cars just keep going long after others have started to fall apart. From the outside, a clean 2016 LS 460 still looks quietly expensive in 2025. It doesn't try too hard. Long hood, smooth sides, a proper luxury grille, and a roofline that flows into a short rear deck. It has presence without shouting. Park it in front of a hotel, a big house, or even a normal driveway, and it just looks right. Most people can't tell if it's 3 years old or 10 years old. They just see a big, serious Lexus. For a car you want to keep for a very long time, that kind of timeless design is perfect. Open the door, and you instantly feel why this belongs in a built-to-last-a-lifetime video. You don't just sit down. You drop into big, thick, armchair-style seats that are designed for hours of driving, not just quick trips. The leather is heavy and usually still in beautiful condition on a well-looked-after car. You see real wood, soft-touch materials everywhere your hands land, and controls that move with that smooth, damped resistance that screams quality. Close the door, and the outside world just fades. There's that soft, heavy whump, and then you're in a quiet, insulated bubble. No buzzing, no cheap rattles, just a calm cabin that still feels expensive years later. Press the start button, and the 4.6-liter V8 wakes up with almost no drama. At idle, you barely hear it. Pull away from a stop and the LS 460 doesn't jerk or jump. It glides. In city driving, the V8 barely has to work. It moves this big sedan with effortless low RPM torque. On the highway, it drops to a quiet hum, sitting at low revs and ready with instant power whenever you need to merge or overtake. When you do press the pedal, it responds with a smooth, strong surge of power. No lag, no crazy noise, just pure, refined acceleration. Paired with a sophisticated multi-speed automatic, the shifts are so soft and well-timed that most passengers don't even feel them. That combination, big, under-stressed V8 plus conventional automatic, is exactly what mechanics like to see if you're talking about long-term ownership. Out on the road, the LS 460 is built to kill stress. The suspension is tuned for comfort first. It soaks up potholes, rough asphalt, and expansion joints, turning sharp hits into soft, rounded motions. You feel the car move, but you don't feel beaten up by the road. At higher speeds, it really shows what it was built for. The LS sits low, stable, and rock-solid, tracking straight with minimal steering corrections. Wind and road noise are pushed way down, so you can talk quietly, listen to music at low volume, or just enjoy the silence. It's one of those cars that makes a 3-hour trip feel like one, and that's exactly what you want in a vehicle you plan to keep and actually use. If you want a luxury sedan that still feels like a driver's car but is built with the same long-term mindset as a Toyota, the 2013 Lexus GS 350 is exactly that sweet spot. This is one of those cars mechanics quietly respect. It looks like a sharp executive sedan, drives like a proper sports sedan, and underneath it has a simple, proven drivetrain that just keeps going if you service it on time. From the outside, the 2013 GS 350 still looks seriously good in 2025. This was the angry generation, low and wide stance, bold spindle grille, sharp headlights, and clean body lines. It doesn't have that soft, anonymous look of older sedans. Park it next to brand new luxury cars, and it still fits right in. Most people will just see a modern, well-kept Lexus, not a used car gamble. In darker colors with factory 18 or 19 wheels, it gives off that quietly fast vibe, the kind of car that doesn't shout but definitely isn't slow. Open the door, and you're in a cabin that feels built for someone who actually enjoys driving. The driver's seat is supportive without being harsh, the steering wheel feels solid in your hands, and the dash gently wraps around you with a very cockpit-like feel. Materials are classic Lexus. Soft touch in all the right places, neat stitching, real-feeling trim and switches that still click and move with that smooth resistance that screams quality. In a well-maintained GS 350, you don't get the buzzing, creaking, and loose plastics you find in many other 10-plus-year-old cars. It still feels tight and expensive when you roll over rough pavement. Close the door, and the outside world drops away. It has that Lexus cocoon effect that makes traffic and long drives much easier to live with. Under the hood is the main reason this car is mechanic approved. A 3.5-liter, naturally aspirated V6 from the 2GR family, paired with a conventional automatic transmission. No turbo hanging off the side, no complicated twin-turbo hybrid experiment. Just a strong, smooth V6 that Toyota has used across multiple models for years. It starts clean, idles quietly, and delivers power in a very linear way. Around town, it pulls the GS away from lights with zero effort. On the highway, it cruises at low revs, ready with instant acceleration when you push the pedal. Because there's no turbo to overheat or overboost, the engine isn't living on the edge just to hit its numbers. And the traditional automatic gearbox, when serviced with proper fluid changes, is known for being far less troublesome than some dual-clutch or CVT designs. Out on the road, the 2013 GS 350 hits that rare balance. Comfortable enough for daily use, sharp enough to be fun. The steering has real weight and feedback, so you actually feel what the front wheels are doing. Turn into a corner, and the car responds immediately with the body staying flat and composed. The suspension is firm enough to give you confidence if you push a little, but it still takes the edge off potholes, patched asphalt, and highway expansion joints. You can drive this car hard on a twisty road, then spend the rest of the week cruising to work in total comfort. At highway speeds, it feels planted and stable. It doesn't wander, and you're not constantly correcting the wheel. Wind and tire noise are kept to a sensible background level, so long trips don't leave you worn out. If you like the idea of a luxury SUV that just sips fuel and quietly runs for years, the 2010 Lexus RX 450 is one of those if-you-know models mechanics respect. A lot of people still get nervous when they hear the word hybrid, but this is exactly the kind of hybrid that calmed everyone down. It took Toyota's proven hybrid tech and wrapped it in a comfortable Lexus shell, and then went on to rack up big mileage with surprisingly few problems. From the outside, the 2010 RX 450h still looks clean and classy even today. This is the third-generation RX shape, slightly sharper and more modern than the early ones, but without the wild angles of the very latest designs. It has that classic luxury crossover look, just the right size, not massive, not tiny, with a smooth profile and subtle hybrid badging that doesn't shout eco-car. Park it in a 2025 driveway and it just looks like a smart, well-kept Lexus, not an outdated science project. Open the door and you get exactly what RX buyers are looking for: calm, comfort, and quality. If you were to pick one modern Lexus that feels like it was built to outlive its owners, the 2018 Lexus LX 570 would be right at the top of the list. This is not just a big fancy SUV with chrome and leather. Underneath, it's basically a Land Cruiser in a tuxedo. That's why mechanics, off-road guys, and longtime Lexus owners all talk about the LX like it's a tank with a luxury interior. From the outside, the 2018 LX 570 has serious presence. It sits tall, wide, and square, with real ground clearance, big wheel arches, and that huge spindle grille up front. In photos, it can look a bit over the top, but in real life it just looks expensive and unbothered by anything the road is going to throw at it. Park it next to brand new luxury SUVs in 2025, and it absolutely still belongs. Most people won't even realize it's a few years old, because the basic shape and attitude haven't gone out of style. Open the door, and the heavy feel of everything tells you what you're dealing with. The doors have weight, the handles feel solid, and when you close them, there's that deep, satisfying thunk that cuts the outside world down to a quiet murmur.